Law is a very strong character that excels mostly at his point-blank range pressure with his jabs, insane plus frames, very strong poking in general, and an overall strong full crouch mix-up as well. Hey guys, GamerNemy here, and in this guide we're gonna talk about Law's most important tools, in what scenarios you want to use these tools, just how to use these tools in general, just some overall tips, tricks, tech, and flowcharts revolving around all of Law's most important tools. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Law's 1-1 forward 1 is a 10-frame counter-hit confirmable string that takes him into hit. Now what I mean by counter-hit confirmable is you can visually see if the first 2 hits land on counter-hit and then finish the string to confirm the hit. You don't just have to throw it out, you can actually counter-hit confirm, which makes it a very strong tool. There are very few characters in this game that have these tools. Lars' 1-1-1 is another example, Dragonov 1-2-1 as well, but Law's is actually better because firstly it's only -12 on block, and honestly for the reward that it gives, the risk is not that great. Very strong. It also becomes a launcher in hit, which is ridiculous. Already a top 10 best move in Tekken 8 free. This move is so strong, guys. It is so strong. You have no idea how strong it is to have a 10-frame counter hit confirmable string. 10 frame that takes you into hit. Insane. That's ridiculous. This is one of the many reasons as to why Law has one of the strongest jab game in the game in general. It's because of this particular string. It's very good for keep out, of course, being a 10-frame jab. In every scenario you'd use a 10-frame one jab. You'd use Law's 1-1 forward 1 as well. Hwarang is stringing in your face, cancelling all his stances, his Hwarang BS. Check them with a 1-1-1, but however you have to be smart about it. Don't just randomly throw it out. Jack, Gamma cancels for example, very good against him. He's cancelling in your face, check him with a 1-1-1. Steve as well, back 1, interrupt his back 1 pressure with some jab games, some jab checks here and there. The best part about this is it's not risky because you can visually see, you can visually confirm if the move lands on counter hit and then finish the entire string. The versatility of this move is just too good. It is really strong, guys. Please enforce your 1-1-1 string checks. Then of course, being a counter hit tool, you want to have some frame traps for checking, and like I said, since it's a jab, it comes out at 10 frames. 10 frames is basically the fastest move that exists in Tekken. Of course there are exceptions like Yoshimitsu's sword, but in general 10 frames are generally the fastest moves in Tekken. So having a 10-frame counter hit move means you have so many frame traps or so many setups in a scenario where you don't want your opponent, or you force your opponent to respect you and not press buttons. If they do, they get hit by your 1-1 forward 1. So for example, a one jab is only +1, so you can do like one jab into 1-1 forward 1, right? One jab. Like this is why Law's jab game is so strong. This is one jab check game is ridiculously strong because you know he's looking for that 1-1 forward 1, right? One jab. Oh, you're pressing buttons, 1-1 forward 1, boom, hit engager. An example like that. Another example is down back 3, which is a +3 Law that leaves the opponent crouching. Your crouching opponent usually stands up with outstanding 4. So down back 3 into 1-1-1, very good frame trap as well. They press buttons, they get hit. You have forward 1+2, his classic plus move is also +3. So they press buttons, forward 1+2 into 1-1 forward 1, another good frame trap example. They press buttons, they get hit. You have side step 2, which is 0 on block. Now side step 2, you will trade with their jabs because like I said, it's 0, it's neutral, it resets the neutral. You won't really get 1-1 forward 1 guaranteed because if they do press buttons, you will trade with them. But it's still a very good move to use as a setup for 1-1 forward 1 because if they do press anything else other than a jab, they do get counter hit. You can play off of it by going low and sidestepping again as well. Now you don't really have to do this all the time, but there's just some good scenarios, okay? It's just some good examples, some good frame traps on scenarios with how to use 1-1-1. So 1-1-1, very strong for keep out and very strong setup with just your overall jab game and some very good frame traps as well. You honestly shouldn't find yourself getting pressured that much with Law in this game because like I said, his close range keep out game is pretty ridiculous, and 1-1 forward 1 should not be a panic move. You should always be aware that you're using this move so that you can be ready to counter it confirm when you do realize that the move lands on counter it. He has better 10-frame counter it tools that are panic moves as we'll talk about later in the video. So 1-1-1 guys, very strong. Okay, next we have laws 1 to 3, which kind of works in the same sense as 1 1 forward 1, but with a few key differences. So firstly, this one is safe at -5. It's a safe string, high high mid, and you actually get everything guaranteed on counter hit as well, just like 1 1 forward 1. But unlike 1 1 forward 1, you don't really go into hit or get anything crazy. It gives you +13 and some massive pushback, so the frame data is good, but you won't really be able to make use of that frame data. So this works exactly the same as 1 1 forward 1 in the sense of keep out and frame traps and using it with your jab game as well. Basically everything I said about 1 1 forward 1 in terms of utility usage applies to 1 2 3 as well. But 1 2 3 is like the safe version of, really, you don't want to go through the trouble of having to counter it, confirm things, right? You just throw it out, like just throw it. You're panicking, throw it out. What do you have to lose? It's still safe. Of course, there can be sidesteps and stuff like that, but if you're panicking, you're not really for the idea of trying to counter it, confirm something, you just want to throw something out to stop the pressure, then 1 2 3 is that move for you. It's amazing for interrupting pressure, just stopping the momentum of your opponent. That's like the most important use for this particular string. I did say it gives you +13, which is a lot, right? But because of the pushback, you can't really utilize these plus frames. So what I have to do is use Law's nunchuck after counter hit 1 2 3, because the nunchuck will always reach after 1 2 3 on counter hit, and the nunchuck is unsafe at -13. I will talk about this move as well, guys, don't you worry. It is unsafe, but because of the distance that you hit it, you can space it correctly to a point where your opponent can't actually punish it, and counter it 1 2 3 into nunchuck is that example. So yeah, just a very good frame trap you can use after 1 2 3 on counter hit. So 1 2 3 into nunchuck. You can also do 1 2 3 into up forward 3. This works as well, but this one can actually be stepped. You have to be very careful, but overall you won't really utilize those plus frames because of the pushback. The pushback, like, it takes them like really far, right? Really far. It also has a wall stand at the wall, gives you hella plus frames, which is really good, but I feel as though you do have better options to use at the wall other than 1 2 3. And on block being -5, like -5 isn't bad, but it isn't great either. You can't really do much after this, but you can still technically move afterwards. So like 1 2 3, if blocked, you can try to sidestep, check your opponent. Most people think it's -9, so they do try to do like slow moves after you do 1 2 3. So you can like jab check them, 1 2 3 into one jab, 1 2 3 into dig jab sometimes. The green rank low strat is 1 2 3 on block into down 3 3, down 2 3, which is very risky. I don't advise that, but it all depends on your reads at the end of the day. What is your opponent doing after 1 2 3 on block, right? What you do depends on what they do afterwards. So make those reads and study your opponent's behavior. That's basically the idea of how Tekken is. It's about what your opponent does after you throw out certain things. So in general, guys, that's 1 2 3 in a nutshell. Very similar with how you use 1 1 forward 1. Next up is 1 2 2 forward 2, which again is another 10 frame counter hit confirmable string. So yeah, Law's jab game, like I said, is very strong in this game. So again, this string works exactly the same as 1 2 3 and 1 1 forward 1, but of course it is a longer string and it has quite a mix up going on for it. So the whole string is safe. The last hit is a high though, so it can be dark. The thing is, he can mix it up. He actually has 1 2 2 forward 2, with the last hit being a mid, an unsafe mid at -13. So now you have a 10 frame counter hit string which has a mix up at the end between a high and a mid. So with this string, you want the versatility of it being a mix up and you having just the ability to enforce mental frame mix up against your opponent. So like it's a layered string, right? It's an option of being a counter hit fisher and like being used for pressure as well, being a string that has a mix up at the end. So he has so many of these strings, right? 1 1 forward 1, 1 2 3, 1 2 2 forward 2, but all of them have different utility if you think about it. It's very good at just pressuring your opponent, right? 1 1 forward 1, counter hit confirm if you want to go into hit, right? That's the option you have. 1 2 3, good for interrupting momentum. 1 2 2 forward 2, good for string pressure and enforcing your mental frame mix-ups as well. So everything I said about these two strings also apply to the string in terms of frame traps, interrupting your opponent, using it for defense, implementing the string as part of your jab game as well. this applies to 1 to 2 2 as well. So as I said, the biggest factor of this string is a mix-up at the end between the high and the mid. So if you go like 1 to 2 and not finish the string, it is actually safe at -8 as well. So now the opponent is stuck between either trying to press buttons because you're -8, right? -8 is not that great. You basically lose your turn, and the opponent knows this. So they are stuck between either having to press buttons after you do 1 to 2, right? Or having to duck, because you can actually do the full string with the high at the end. So now the opponent has to guess either you finish the string or you stop at -8. And if you stop at -8, you do have these mental frame mix-ups. Like I said, you basically steal your turn because they're ducking, right? They've lost frame data because they're ducking. So you can steal your turn mentally, of course, being a mix-up. So with that said, you can do like 1 to 2, stay at -8, then go for like jab strings, right? 1 to 2 into 1 1 forward 1, right? Maybe they try to twitch duck and try to get up with all standing 4, so you interrupt them again with 1 1 forward 1. 1 1 1 to 2 into 1 to 3, right? 1 to 2, then 1 to 2 again. 1 to 2 -8, 1 to 2 again, okay? Have they started pressing buttons? 1 to 2 2. Finish the entire string, right? That's the idea. If they start getting a read on you, let's say ducking the last string, that's when you start implementing the 1 plus 2 at the end. Now, like I said, it's unsafe at -13, so do this at your own peril. Of course, like I said, it's about risks. Sometimes it's guessing, are they going to duck, are they going to stay standing? But where this is mostly effective is at the wall, right? Because the last hit can give you a wall splat if they duck, so it's very effective to use at the wall. But overall, the string is very strong in terms of pressure and just getting your offense going. So this is why I said Law's jab game is very strong in Tekken 8. He's got very strong keep out, and all of these are 10 frames, guys. 10 frames, so it's one jab pressure. One jab, 1 1 forward 1. One jab, 1 2 3. One jab, 1 2 2 2, right? It's just too much, like it's insane. One of the best characters in the game when it comes to his jab pressure at point blank range. So that's how you want to utilize all of his 3 strings, guys. They all are the same in a sense, but they have completely different utilities if you use it the right way. Okay, next up is Law's classic forward 1 plus 2 or the Dragon Hammer. We're now getting into some plus frames, the good stuff, and one of Law's biggest strengths. So this is +3 on block safe, mid has some pretty good tracking overall, and it's +8 on hit. And the best thing about this move is it's a counter hit launcher as well, guys. Plus frame mid counter hit launcher. Like, that's insane. It is so strong, so good as it's ever been. What I love about this move is its versatility, and I'll explain why. So when you do forward 1 plus 2, you can either stay standing if you want or press down to go into full crouch. This is very important for Law, as we'll talk about later in the video. Just a brief explanation on why. Law has a very strong full crouch mix-up. He has a slide that he can do from full crouch. Then he has some pretty decent mids as well to use as a mix-up. So you have this move, Dragon Hammer for 1 plus 2, which is a conditioning move, right? It's +3. You're conditioning your opponent to respect you and not press buttons. So if they respect you, you can do Dragon Hammer, hold down, and go for a full crouch mix-up. So this is what makes this string very scary. Like the counter hit aspect of it is just a bonus, because at the end of the day, it is a very slow move. It comes out at 20 frames, so you won't really use this as a fishing tool in terms of like creating frame traps for it, like a frame trap where you put the opponent in a situation where this move is guaranteed to land on counter hit if they press buttons. You don't really have that many with this move because of how slow it comes out. It's mostly used as a conditioning tool to initiate your pressure and cause your opponent to respect you. So like I said, firstly, because of its versatility to either stay standing or go into full crouch, you can implement some full crouch mix-ups or some very good frame traps as well if you stay standing. We've spoken about his 10 frame strings, 1 1 forward 1, 1 2 2 2, and 1 2 3. After forward 1 plus 2, these are very good frame traps or very good options that you have as well. Now +3 is not a lot. The opponent can still move afterwards, and sidestep is a very strong option for people fighting against your Law. So you actually have to decide yourself based on what the opponent does, based off of your reads, what option you want to go for after your Dragon Hammer. If they're sidestepping, you either go for back 4 or back 3. these are not frame traps. Your opponent can interrupt you if they do like a while standing 4. So like I said, it's only +3, it's not a lot, right? So the step, you have to go for the homing moves. If they're getting up without standing 4, because it does leave them crouching, you can go for the frame traps I spoke about earlier, the 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, forward 1, and 1, 2, 2. If you want to go for a mid, you can go for down forward 1, which is a very good option as well. However, the down forward 1 can be beaten by side step. So it's +3, but there are some mind games like rock, paper, scissors, but honestly, it's in your favor depending on the reads that you make, like I said earlier. I won't stop stressing this, guys. Tekken is about reads. At the end of the day, I can give you these tips, but the decisions you make is based off of the opponent you're fighting. Are they disrespecting you a lot after forward 1+2? Then use the frame traps. Are they respecting you a lot? Go for full crouch mix-ups afterwards and go for like more plus frames. Forward 1+2 into forward 1+2. You're not pressing buttons. Okay, forward 1+2. Forward 1+2 again. Forward 1+2, stay crouching, go for the slide, right? Are they ducking when you stay crouching? Go for up forward 3 as a mid mix-up. That's the idea behind Dragon Hammer. The pressure is insane, especially at the wall, man. Law is a menace at the wall, dude. His plus frames are so strong. Dragon Hammer forward 1+2, side step 2, running 3, DSS forward 4, the legend kick. Like, his pressure is just so good. It feels so good to use, it feels so good to play, and it's mostly because of the plus frames that he has at point blank range. So just a recap again, the conditioning 2, the counter hit aspect is just a bonus, but you're mostly looking to get the plus frames off and make your opponent respect you, so you can go for some full crouch mix-ups, which are some good frame traps overall. So very, very strong move that you can use to initiate your pressure. Next up is back 2. Now what makes back 2 really good is firstly the range and the space it covers. If you play low, you realize that low does not really have very good like range 1, 1.5, range 2 like moves at this range. He's a very close range oriented character, right? So moves like Devo Jin forward 2 or Jin forward 2, Lars forward 1+2, Jin back to 1. Low does not have many of those moves. However, back 2 makes an exception. It covers that big weakness in terms of range that low has. And if you notice, it's basically the same string as 1, 2, 2. Earlier we spoke about 1, 2, 2, 2. The last 2 hits of 1, 2, 2, 2 is basically back 2 on its own. So back 2 on its own on block is -8. So even the frame data is the same. The follow-ups are the same. It has back 2, 2, which is a mid-high, so it can be ducked. But it also has another string from this. He has Junkyard. So the interesting thing about Junkyard is even if the opponent blocks the second move, the low, they can't really punish it. They only have to low parry. They are forced to low parry this move because the last hit is safe. Back 2, 3, 4. The whole string is safe unless the opponent low parries this. So now you have a mind game just like 1, 2, 2, 2. Remember guys, 1, 2, 2, 2. Basically the same string. You have the mind game of whether you're going to do back 2 on its own or you're going to do back 2, 2, which is mid-high, can be ducked, or back 2, 3, the Junkyard. So the opponent here is going to be twitch ducking, dick jabbing. They're trying to beat your mix-up, your mind game. So this opens up so many possibilities with this move. Are they pressing buttons after back 2? Do the entire Junkyard. If they did, you can launch them on counter hit. Are they not pressing buttons after you do back 2? Then you steal your turn. You have mental frames because they are conditioned not to press buttons because of your follow-up. Are they ducking? You're stealing your turn back. So basically everything I said about 1, 2, 2, 2 applies to back 2 as well. It's based on the reads that you make against your opponent, guys. Based on the reads. Back 2, what is your opponent doing after you throw out a back 2? Then make your decisions after that. So mainly for the space control that low really lacks at this range. It's also a very good whiff punisher because both strings are natural on hit, back 2, 2. So quick whiff punisher if you're kind of slow with your 3+4s, and just a very strong like mind game situation that low has going on with back 2. So for more plus frames on block, we have forward 2, 1+2. It's a 2 hit string. Very, very good for the mid range. We spoke about how low is pretty weak at this range. So this covers some pretty good space and gives you +2 on block. So this is just his poison arrow. You can do it on its own. So 2 slide 1. On its own, it doesn't really have that much range. It's more effective at the wall. It is a counter hit launcher as well. Knocks down on normal hit. So already you can see why it's strong. Just use it to get in and get a +2. Now the string can be interrupted by a jab. Forward 2, 1+2 does not gel. the opponent can interrupt and they can also sidestep you as well. So as a mix-up, you have forward 2-1, which is another extension of the string. He has forward 2-1-3 as the full string. It is unsafe, so don't really be using it only for combos, but you're going to use forward 2-1 sometimes as a mix-up. The only problem is the one part of the string is a high. It can be ducked. So you have this mind game of whether the opponent is going to try and interrupt you after forward 2 or try to sidestep you after forward 2 as well. So you use the high as a mix-up to cover that weakness. So again, it's all about mind games with low. Do you want these plus frames? Then hope you make the right read and hope the opponent doesn't try to sidestep after forward 2 or try to jab in between. If they do, mix that up with forward 2-1. So at +2, it basically works the same as forward 1 +2, which is +3, remember? But this doesn't give you the option to go crouch, and at +2, you can't do that much, to be honest with you. You really can't, right? The best thing you can do after this is jab. You can't even down forward 1. It sucks, by the way. You're basically looking for the counter hit. That's the main reason you want to use this tool, because sometimes opponents will try to duck after forward 2. They try to duck and do like an inside while standing punish. So in that case, you can just go with the forward 2, 1 +2, and let it rip, and you will get the counter hit sometimes if you're messing it up well with forward 2-1. At +2, like I said, you can go for your 10 frame strings for the mix-up for the frame traps. So again, 1-1 forward 1, 1-2-2-2, and 1-2-3 are very good options after forward 2, 1 +2. At the wall, this is also very strong because you can just keep the pressure going. Poison arrow into sidestep 2, poison arrow into hammer forward 1 +2, poison arrow into running 3 and stuff like that. Very, very strong in that sense. You can also cancel forward 2, 1 +2 into DSS, dragon stance. I will talk about DSS in a separate section, but the fact that you can do this after forward 1 +2 as well is very, very strong. Now I said it's only +2, which isn't a lot. However, if you cancel this into DSS just by holding forward after this string, you will go into DSS at +5. So you have way better frame traps and setups after going into DSS after this string. So for example, forward 2, 1 +2, hold forward into DSS2 is a very strong frame trap. DSS2 is a counter hit launcher, however it is a high. I'll also cover this in its own section, but it's a very strong option to use as a frame trap. If you want to go mid, you can do forward 2, 1 +2 into DSS forward 1 as a mid option. This is also a frame trap. They can't really press buttons after this, and it's like a power crash or a rage out and stuff like that. So that's the basic use of forward 2, 1 +2. You want that counter hit, right? They have to guess whether you stay mid or you go for the high as a mix-up. And if you cancel to DSS, you have stronger options. You also have a DSS low after this, DSS 4. It's all about reads again. Not pressing buttons are respecting you. Keep the plus frames going, guys. Keep the plus frames going. Go into forward 1 +2, the dragon hammer, get +3. Into outstanding 4, you can cancel that back into DSS, go for DSS 2 again, which is +1, running 3 to get more plus. Like, just keep the plus frames going. That's the idea with low. That's what makes him a very strong character. That's his biggest strength. Plus frames for days at point blank range. So poison arrow, very, very strong as well for low. Okay, so next up we have Low's 1 +2, his nunchuck. Now you won't really use this move that much often compared to when you are in hit, because it does get enhanced in hit. It's unsafe at -13 on block. However, what makes it good is that it is a counter hit launcher as well, and if you space it correctly, like I explained earlier during my 1, 2, 3 section, you can make it safe. So 1, 2, 3, for example, on counter hit into 1 +2, 1, 2, 3 pushes them like so far away that they actually can't punish you when you throw out a nunchuck afterwards. So that's the idea behind using this move when you are not in hit. Space it correctly and just stay safe. Another example is DSS 4, his classic low from Dragon Stance into 1 +2. At the right space, you can space it enough that they won't actually punish you. DSS 2 as well into nunchuck as well, just like that. So you have to figure out these scenarios where you can space it correctly. Even just after a knockdown, right? You knock down your opponent as they get up, just create that space so you can perfectly place that 1+2 to the point that you can't actually get punished. You can even bait out punishers like this because people instinctively just want to punish everything that's unsafe, not knowing you can actually do some stuff like this and just bait out their punish. So you can do like a 1+2 after you space it correctly. Then if they throw out the punish, you duck them instead and punish them. I won't actually spend much time on this because, to be honest, you won't really see that many high level low players use this in neutral, and you won't as well unless you are in heat. But these are just some ideas on how you want to use the 1+2 to stay safe. In some cases, people just like mashing buttons and you want that long range counter hit too, and this is 1+2 for low. That long range or that mid range that low is missing for that counter hit launcher. So space it correctly and you will be a-okay. Low's up forward 3 is a safe mid at -8 that takes him into hit. Now at first glance this move looks very simple. It looks like a move you won't even use most of the time, but this move is actually very important to low because it's what you're going to be using for your full crouch mix-up. So low has a very strong full crouch mix-up like I've touched on throughout this video. So basically he has a slide, the legendary slide. Low is not a very risky character. He doesn't really have big lows, right? He's a poke heavy character, and that means for his lows as well, he relies mostly at poking. However, if you want to take a risk with low, you have to start using his slide. So his slides knocks down and it can be floated when blocked. So technically it's launch punishable, but because it floats the opponent, they don't really get as much damage as they would if, let's say, they blocked a Kazuya Hell Sweep and launched it, right? It scales heavily because you just get a float off of the slide. The up forward 3 is the perfect mix-up for his full crouch slide. Low doesn't really have that like good mids to use as a mix-up from his full crouch. Unless you're trying to be risky, you go for outstanding 2, which is launch punishable, right? You can do outstanding 1, but all of that is not as strong as up forward 3 because you just want that nice chunky mid that takes you into hit. Very, very strong full crouch mix-up. This is basically how you're mostly going to be using this mid. And you can also cancel your slide from DSS as well. So you can do down for just after DSS cancel, hold down forward, then low does this little slide or this little like mini crouch dash looking animation. So from that you just easily press 3 and you will get the slide as well. So this just makes his offense flow, right? We've spoken about how you can cancel certain moves into DSS. For example, outstanding 4, you can hold forward and go into DSS. So now you can have this depth when it comes to the offense where you can do like outstanding 4, hold forward and then down forward to cancel DSS into a full crouch slide mix-up or full crouch mix-up between up forward 3 and the slide. This offense is just like, it's so you can just flow with this character. It's very seamless, and one of the things that's very fun about low in this game. Now I will cover DSS in a different section of the video, but because we're talking about up forward 3, I had to talk about this a bit. So in general, guys, in conclusion, up forward 3 is mostly used as a full crouch mix-up for the slide as well. Finally, let's talk about sidestep 2. I feel like I've talked about sidestep 2 a lot like throughout this video, but I think now let's break the move down on its own. So sidestep 2 is nothing special. Honestly, it's just 0 on block, and it has the illusion that makes it seem as though it's plus on block, but it's actually 0, meaning it's neutral. If you guys both jab, after you throw out sidestep 2, you are going to trade with your opponent. So on its own, it's not really that special. Honestly, it does have more usage at the war because it does war splat, but the reason why I've added sidestep 2 into this video is because sidestep 2 is best friends with sidestep 3. Sidestep 3 is actually one of Low's best lows. It's +7 on hit and -13 on block, and on counter hit it gives you guaranteed DSS forward 1. This move also forces you into DSS, like you can't decide not to go into DSS after sidestep 3, so keep that in mind. They both come out at 18 frames. Sidestep 2 and sidestep 3 both come out at 18 frames, which makes it a complete 50-50 mix-up when Low sidesteps in your face. So this is what makes sidestep 2 really good. It's the fact that he does have that sidestep 3 to use as a mix-up. So it's really good just to alternate between the two, right? Sidestep 2, boom, you're ducking, okay, sidestep 2, the standing, okay, sidestep 3. Just that mix-up is what makes it strong. So basically that's the only utility that sidestep 2 has, honestly, the mix-up potential that it has because of sidestep 3. I think this section actually belongs more so to sidestep 3 than it does sidestep 2 because there's a lot you can do after sidestep 3. Okay, so like I said, it's +7 on block, meaning you can do a lot after this with forced DSS, by the way. So sidestep 3 into DSS2, for example, is a frame trap. They press any buttons, they get counter hit. Sidestep 3 into DSS forward 1 as well is a frame trap. So if you want to do sidestep 3 and keep your pressure with the frames, you can choose to use both of these options, with the 2 being a high, of course, but you have that forward 3 to cover that up. If they start respecting you, remember, you can cancel DSS into a full crouch mix-up by holding down forward. So sidestep 3 into down forward, then go for either slide mix-up or up forward 3 for the mid. Like I said, like this guy just flows. His offense just flows, very seamless because of the DSS stance transitions, like yin and yang. Like these guys are best friends, right? The DSS cancels into the slide. Oh my, it just feels so smooth, so good. You can keep the offense going, as I keep saying, with flow. Like I said, you can do like sidestep 3, then cancel with down forward into while standing 4, right? While standing 4 again, if you hold forward, you go back into DSS. Basically, you can keep on looping the pressure depending on if the opponent is respecting you after your DSS cancel. That's the idea behind low end DSS pressure. You also have other options, of course. After sidestep 3 into DSS, you can go for DSS forward 4 for more plus frames, deal some pretty good chip damage as well. However, it is a high, so you be very careful. That's what makes sidestep 2 very strong, because of the fact that sidestep 3 exists. Without sidestep 3, I don't think sidestep 2 would be that strong, honestly, only at the wall, because like I said, it just gives the illusion that makes it look plus, but it's actually 0 on block. I did speak about how despite being 0 on block, it's still very good because it's neutral, right? You can still move afterwards. You can go for your 10 frame strings in case your opponent decides to press any other buttons that aren't 10 frame fast. You always win that trade. So that's basically sidestep 2 in a nutshell, guys. Yin and yang, best friends with sidestep 3. Okay, so a little bit more on DSS. So you can manually go into DSS by pressing down 1+2, and this is important because with low you are also going to implement manual DSS pressure. He does have some really good moves that you want from DSS. Sometimes it's good to just manually go into DSS and use that said particular move. There are also moves, like I said earlier, that force you into DSS, and some of them you can go into DSS if you want to. I won't give you guys every single move. These moves are noted on the command list, so please check out Low's command list to find out which moves can take you into DSS. Furthermore, DSS sometimes gives you more plus frames after certain strings or after certain moves compared to just doing the move normally. For example, like 1-1 to his 1-1-2 punish without going into DSS is +6. However, if you go into DSS, it's +7. We spoke about forward 2 1+2. Without DSS cancel, it's only +2. With DSS, it becomes +6 or +5. Sorry. So these are some of the things you should know with low. Like with low, this is no exception. You have to learn how to implement DSS pressure in your gameplay. This flows so well with his offense. You can do so much, implement so many mix-ups. You can go from full crouch mix-ups to standing mix-ups. He has a very good low from DSS, DSS 4. He has a very strong high, which is super plus, does massive chip damage, DSS forward 4 for the legend kick. So you have to implement his DSS pressure. I've given you guys the tropes. It's up to you guys to spend the time in the lab. See what you can do with the stance. Stuff like forward 4 cancels. Forward 4 cancel into DSS, right? Hold forward, go into DSS. Hold down forward to cancel into slide mix-ups. Into what's standing for again. Keep the loop going. I've mentioned this so many times. That's the idea with this character. He is the pressure god of this game. Point blank range pressure. His DSS just makes him flow, and it's really, really fun and sick to do. And one thing you guys should also keep in mind is the timing for DSS sometimes. If you do certain moves like 1-1-2 punish into DSS, there's a certain timing you must do for you to actually get the move out of DSS at a certain speed. Let's say, for example, 1-1-2 into DSS2, the counter hit launcher is a frame trap. If they press any buttons, they get counter hit. However, if you time it incorrectly or do it wrong, it won't come out as fast as you think it will or as you hope it will because you mistimed it. This is why I say you need to put low in the lab and just practice your DSS cancels, your timings, your pressure, your strings, everything. Spend time in the lab with this character. It can seem difficult at first, but the more you spend time with him, the easier it comes. I spoke more about manual DSS pressure. So stuff like forward 1 plus 2, for example, is the Dragon Hammer we spoke about, doesn't take you into DSS. But after Dragon Hammer, you can manually go into DSS and do like go for the low, right? Because you are plus, they are respecting your plus frames, so that gives you the opportunity to go for the low. DSS2, again, the counter hit move. DSS forward 4 at the wall gives a wall stand, so it makes his wall game or his wall pressure very ridiculous because of this particular move. So manual DSS pressure is also very viable with this character, and you really want to implement that as well. That's basically how his DSS should be used, guys. It will just become natural the more you play with the character. At first it can be confusing, it might seem like a lot, but the more you play with him, the more you just start flowing with the character. Let's get into some of Low's other lows, starting with down back 3, which is only +3 on hit and -13 on block. It leaves you standing and it leaves your opponent crouching as well on hit. So it has exact same properties as forward 1 plus 2, his Dragon Hammer, except you can't really go into crouch after this, it leaves you standing. So everything I said about Dragon Hammer, guys, applies to down back 3 as well in terms of frame traps, opponent behavior, what you want to do. So please go back to that section if you didn't check it out. Just to give you guys a brief summary again, at +3 the opponent doesn't really have to respect you. It's kind of like a rock paper scissors, except it's in your favor. So down back 3 into down forward 1 is a classic go to frame trap. They can't press any buttons after this, although they can actually sidestep, so you have to be very careful. If they are stepping you, throw out the back 3s, which is a homing move, or the back 4s. However, these are not frame traps. If they do like a standing 4, they will hit you. So again, it's like rock paper scissors. They stay crouching, down forward 1 will clip them, right? They respect you, then keep your pressure going, just like Dragon Hammer. Down back 3, you're not pressing any buttons, okay, down back 3 again, down back 3, not pressing any buttons, down back 3 into Dragon Hammer. More plus frames, more layers. That's the idea. Again, reads. What is your opponent doing after down back 3? Make your decisions based off of that. Like when Law is in your face, spamming this shit, it's so annoying. He has Dragon Hammer as well, you can't just duck. You try pressing or standing 4 from crouch, he has frame traps with his 1-1-1 strings. Remember 1-1 forward 1 into hit, 1-3 and 1-2-2 as well. 10 frame counter his strings. So this is a very good frame trap as well after down back 3. However, they are all highs, or they all start with a high jab, so a dick jab, or if they do decide to go low, will beat these options. So this is where the down forward 1 comes into play. However, the down forward 1 can be sidestepped. Again, rock paper scissors, make those reads. It's based off of the reads. So a very good low poke, very good to get your offense going, and very annoying as well. So guys, implement your down back 3s in your game plan. His other go to low is going to be down 4-3. This does 19 damage, is low high. The opponent can duck and launch it, so technically launch punishable. And the worst part about this low is that it has massive pushback on hit, which is very counterintuitive for Law, because Law wants to be in the opponent's face with his plus frames, his strings. He wants to be in the opponent's face, but this Law sends them right off the fucking valley, bro. I don't know why this is a thing for Law, but it is what it is. You have to choose between damage or pressure. You want to keep your pressure going, use down back 3. You want to get in some damage, quick down 4-3. So it's like, yeah, choose your poison. You want damage or you want offense. And the other thing is you can just buffer the 4 on its own, so the down 4, and it's actually just -12, I believe, and it's 0 on hit as well. So you can do some stuff afterwards, bait out stuff, so like down 4 into 1-1 forward 1 and into his 1 strings, because it's 0 on block. You can move afterwards, you know, like a side step down forward 2. Again, it's all about reads. Sometimes your opponents will commit to a fully duck. They'll fully duck and commit, expecting you to do the high as well. And in some scenarios, you won't even get punished due to that fact. So it's a very versatile law, honestly. Mind games, just don't overcommit too much on the whole string. Try to mix it up with just throwing out the down 4 on its own. But finally, let's take a look at Law's hit, starting with his nunchucks. I've already covered the nunchuck. If you missed it, please check out the timestamps. The nunchuck gets enhanced in hit. So regularly, it's just unsafe at -13, and it launches on counter, it knocks down on normal hit. However, in hit, it becomes a launcher that's -8 on block, so it instantly screws for some big damage. Has a very low hitbox, hits grounded. Like, this thing just hits everywhere, bro. Very difficult to challenge, very strong move whilst in hit. With a full hit gauge, you can only use this 3 times. 3 times. You have to be very careful on how you use his nunchuck. One big mistake that low players make is using the nunchuck whilst in hit after the slide. Now of course slide into nunchuck is maximum damage, but when you go into hit you want to reserve that nunchuck for at least a normal hit launcher, right? You want to get a launcher off of this because it's just too strong to use as a knockdown follow-up, right? When you do the slide whilst in hit, you should always go for back turn down 4 as the follow-up. Save your hit nunchuck for something else, for something way better. Now, the best way to use the nunchuck in my opinion is a full crouch as part of the full crouch mix-up. We spoke earlier about how Law's full crouch mix-up is between the slide or the up forward 3 mid. The only problem is Law does not have a safe launching mid to use as a mix-up from full crouch, because that would be like an OP 50-50, right? Together, either you guess low or guess mid. You guess wrong, you're getting launched. This is where the nunchuck comes into play. Full crouch mix up with the nunchuck is insanely strong. So basically, you do the full crouch buffer, right? As if you're going to go for the low, then cancel the crouch with back, then go for the nunchuck instead. And now Law gets to have a mid safe launcher, right? Safe launcher -8, guys, from full crouch to use as a slide. Yeah, Law is a menace when he's in hit. If you respect him too much, right? You respect him too much, he's getting these mix-ups off. You're going to be guessing the entire set, right? It's all about momentum. That's what Law wants to do. He wants to be in the opponent's face, and the full crouch mix-up also counts, right? You want them to duck, boom, hit them with a nunchuck, safe launch. So like I said, guys, you can only use it 3 times, so you have to make it count. If you just spam it, it just kind of runs out, and at the end of the day, it's -8, so the opponent can attack afterwards. So you really want to enforce this in a full crouch mix-up. As a whiff punisher, it's good as well. Just throwing out after frame traps is good as well, but most people don't press buttons either way, so very strong mostly as a full crouch mix-up. And finally, whilst Law is in hit, his DSS becomes an auto punch parry, which also gives him back some hit gauge. Now at first this looks very simple. The first time I saw it as well, I was like, okay, I mean, it's not huge, you know, other characters have better stuff whilst in hit. But what makes it scary is the fact that this makes strings that are unsafe become safe if you try to punish them. So for example, back to 1, right? Back to 1 is -12. Even if you go into DSS, it is still unsafe at -12. However, if Law goes into hit, he does back 1-2, goes into hit, you try to punish him, he can now parry your punish, bro. Like, that's crazy. So this man can basically DSS in your face for free. For free, bro. You press buttons, you get parried, and you give him back some hit, giving him more hit gauge for his overpowered nunchaku. Now this is only a punch parry, only a punch parry. So smart players will use other stuff like kicks, of course, but like if the Low player doesn't cancel, he's still safe. I mean, he's still safe technically, right? So it's very difficult to deal with Law DSS cancelling in your face whilst in hit, because you have to be aware, you have to be mindful of that parry. It's just so annoying, it's so strong. So even while standing 4, like while standing 4 becomes so annoying to deal with, because while standing 4, he can cancel that into DSS as well. So just think of it like plus. While standing 4 becomes plus, because you can't down forward 1 check him, you can't jab check him, right? So it is so annoying. It's just so strong, it's so good. Very underrated in my opinion. But you won't find yourself using this as much as you use the nunchuck. The nunchuck takes priority over these punch parries. These ones, the punch parry is just more so of a quality of life, right? It gives you that safety to cancel for free in DSS, not entirely for free, of course. If the opponent makes a right read, you can get punished, so you have to be very careful. Just gives you the sense of security knowing they can't jab you when you go into DSS. That's basically how Law's hit works. Very simple and straightforward. You just have to be careful with how you implement his hit mechanic. So there you have it, guys, a complete guide on Law and his most important tools and just how to use them. Now this has been shorter than my regular guides because Law is a very direct character. He's simple and straightforward, thankfully, which is a good thing as well in Tekken 8. He's a very efficient and effective character, currently top tier as well, so a pretty good pick if you're trying to get into the character. So if you enjoyed my video, please let me know in the comment section what would you want improved, what would you want changed in my guides, and what would you want me to do better. Constructing criticism is very much welcome. So thank you so much for checking out my video. If you enjoyed, please subscribe, like, and check out my other content as well. You might just like what you see. So GG my boys, and thank you for watching. If you made it this far, take care.